Hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 3 of the video tutorial series on how to deploy Flower in OpenShift and how to run your Flower app on the deployment itself. My name is Chong Shen. I'm a research engineer here at Flower Labs, and let's get to it. So in the past 2 videos, we have deployed SuperLink and SuperNodes in separate clusters. In this video, we're going to show you how we're going to launch the Red Hat OpenShift AI, start a workbench, and then run a small Flower app on the deployment itself. Let's take a look at the SuperLink pod to see where we are at. So this is the first cluster from the first video, where we have a SuperLink pod that's running in the cluster. When we look at the under the workloads in the pod, we have the SuperLink pod that's up and running. When we take a look at the logs, you'll see that there are more node IDs over here. So what I've done between the 2 videos is to deploy additional SuperNodes. So now in total, we have 3 SuperNodes, all of them in separate OpenShift instances connected to this SuperLink itself. Additionally, we have also deployed the Red Hat OpenShift AI within the same cluster as SuperLink, and we are going to use this workbench within the OpenShift AI to interact with the SuperLink. To access the OpenShift AI instance, we will navigate to the panel over here and just launch the Red Hat OpenShift AI instance. We can log in with our credentials as we have before, and it will drop you into the OpenShift AI console. You can see here that we have the Flower SuperLink cluster demo namespace, or the project name that we used is inherits from the cluster. And when we click onto it, you will see that we have a workbench that is up and running, which is this Flower RHOS Red Hat OpenShift demo workbench. The details on how to create this workbench image is actually available in our documentation. So for instance, in our Flower framework documentation, under the how-to guides, if you go under deploy and click on the run Flower on Red Hat OpenShift, we have a section here called deploy Red Hat OpenShift AI. And here it explains to you how you can deploy OpenShift AI from scratch, and how you can also create a custom image that is pre-bundled with Flower, so that when you just import the image into OpenShift AI, Flower is really installed and you don't have to do anything. It's very straightforward. And for example, a container file could look like this, where you do a pip install Flower, and then you push it to an open source repository so that OpenShift AI can just pull it. I'll recommend you that you go through this tutorial to help you to get started. Now back to our OpenShift AI instance. In this workbench, we can now launch this workbench, and it should drop you into a very familiar interface, which is JupyterLab. And this, once you're in this workspace, I think this is very familiar to a lot of data scientists and researchers. The way you work with Flower now is like you would have before. Here we will use the terminal to get started. And once you launch that, zooming a little bit, we can just type Flower version just to check that we have the latest Flower version, which is great, and that's pre-bundled within this image itself. Now we can start to run a small app on the deployment, just to get a sense of how it works. This will be very similar and very easy, right? You always use the Flower new command to get started. Here we'll call it the NumPy app, just for simplicity. And for username, we'll just choose Flower Labs. And here we'll choose option number 6 for NumPy. And there you have it. You have now a NumPy app. It should show up soon if you refresh it. It has a structure that's very familiar to the users for Flower. You have the PyProject toml that contains all the dependencies and also the configuration for the Flower app. It also has the code for the client app and the server app, and also just some basic supporting functions for tasks. This is, of course, a very simplistic app, just to so we can get a sense of how a Flower app is constructed. And the whole point of this is just to demonstrate to you how you can run this in the Flower deployment in Red Hat. So here, the only tweaks that you have to do is in the SuperLink address, we are going to point it to the SuperLink service that we have deployed in this cluster. And we have called this SuperLink-service. You can refer to the first video on the naming for it. And for the port, we're going to use port 1993 that matches with our control API port that we deploy by default. Also, we can do a couple of things, such as in the server app, we can make some changes here, such as just commenting out some lines. So let's just emulate some changes in the app that we want to run. Let's clear this. And the first thing that I typically like to do is just to go Flower run. And in fact, we are going to target the federation name here, which is remote federation, so that it sends the app to the address that we specified here. So we go Flower run. Let's check our directory. We are here, so we need to cd into NumPy app. Flower run, and we say run this app. So we have the dot, and then we target the remote federation, and finally we stream it. We can execute that. Now, as this gets started and you can see some rounds of training, we can take a look at what's happening in our pods. Let's just say we pick one of our SuperNode pods over here, and we look at the client app process itself. And we grab the logs, and you can see that, yes, there are some activities happening here. The Flower client app process is actually pulling some inputs and pushing the response back, which is great. We can go to another pod. Say this is client app number 2. And take a look at the logs as well. We can also see that there is this Flower client app process. And I believe since we ran it for 3 rounds, this would have finished as well. So going back to this instance, yes, indeed, this is finished, which is fantastic. And we can check with Flower LS to check the overall status of all the runs that we have ran in this federation. And you can see that, we have 2. One that I ran earlier, which failed because I was experimenting, and one, just a new one, which I just ran, and just completed. And that's fantastic. So there you have it. We have used OpenShift AI with Flower pre-installed in the environment. And we have also modified a bit of the application just to get a sense of how you can work with a Flower app in this environment, and then ran the workload in OpenShift AI on a Flower deployment across multiple OpenShift clusters, which is fantastic. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial series. Please leave a comment or jump on Slack and ask us any questions. If you have any, we'll be very happy to help you out to work through this. Okay, thank you for watching.